Hello and welcome to another episode of The Sports Podcast. This is our 5th episode. I'm your host, Curtis Collings, joined by
Nolan Thode.
We're filming this on Saturday, November 19th. So, let's just jump right into it. We got a bunch of sports to cover today. We're going to be talking about all 4 sports. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be our first true episode of The Sports Podcast.
Yeah, so the MLB season has come to a close with the Houston Astros beating the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. What are your takeaways from this season? Is it a memorable MLB season for you?
It's a pretty good MLB season. One of our first, full ones. I mean, for Blue Jays fans, it was our first full season since 2019. Mm-hmm. I don't think... No, we were in Toronto only half the season last year, so it was big for that. It was a big season for Toronto fans. You know, the Victoria Day game, we sold out. A bunch of sellouts this year that were really notable. The rest of the league was pretty good. A lot of players that were good in previous seasons weren't good, and a lot of players that you expected to be good were good. But a pretty notable season. Better playoffs. This was a really notable playoffs for the MLB.
Definitely the Phillies run is going to be, one of the runs that I think about. I'm more of a casual MLB fan, but I do pay attention in the playoffs, and the Phillies were able to, capture my attention at least. It was just, it was pretty easy to get behind them. They have a really good roster in terms of the guys. I feel like they have a likable crew, led by Bryce Harper. He, obviously left Washington just before they won the World Series. So to see him go on a deep run and get a chance, he came up big in the big moments, and, it was entertaining baseball for sure.
Yeah, I was just really wishing that they would actually win it because,
Well, what does this title mean for you? In terms of the legacy of, the Houston Astros.
It's the respect piece, I'd say. This is what, as someone who never really respected the Astros just because of what they'd done, I don't really respect the Red Sox either because they were doing the same thing. And a bunch of other teams, apparently. But it's just, this championship has given me respect for that organization. Mm-hmm. It's given me a lot of respect for their scouting department and just... They lost Springer, they lost Correa, their starting center fielder and their starting shortstop, who were premier players at each position. They lost both of them, and they went out and won the championship. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's crazy how they were able to rebound like that.
Yeah, they were well built. They didn't lose a game until the World Series, undefeated in the AL, I'm pretty sure. It was just... The pitching's really solid on Houston. Obviously, Justin Verlander now getting his second World Series title, first, official, if you want to call it that. But I think that's really big for his career, and you can look at him to be, one of the, greatest pitchers of all time.
He'll go down as that for sure.
So speaking of, I guess we can just get into the awards. I guess we can start with Verlander.
Yeah, might as well.
Winning the AL Cy Young.
Unanimously, the AL Cy Young, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And, I have no pick for it. I have no even honorable mention. It's Verlander's award. And I guess this goes the same for the National League, how that was Sandy Alcantara's award. And he also won it unanimously. Yeah. Dominant. He pitched 6 complete games.
Which is more than any other team this season.
Yeah.
So himself more than entire, bullpens, which is kind of
It's just,
crazy.
It's something that doesn't happen anymore. He pitched the most innings out of anyone and had a sub-3 ERA. He was incredible. I don't even have a runner-up for either of these guys. That's how good they were.
I definitely think they're both the award winners, and Verlander definitely helped me. I got him near the 100, pick in our fantasy baseball league, and he was definitely my MVP for the season.
Yeah, what a carry job. And then MVP, speaking of carry jobs, Aaron Judge on that Yankees team. When they looked bad, there was only Aaron Judge on that team. And so he's the AL MVP, and I say he deserves it. I have no other pick as well.
Yeah, I mean, if the only other pick would be maybe Shohei Ohtani, who had a crazy season again. It just... super sad that the Angels aren't really able to do anything with the incredible talent that they have there. But,
if the Angels are a good team, he's the MVP.
Yeah. I agree. Him and Trout, it depends. But I feel like at this point, it's kind of Ohtani's team. Trout can take a little bit of a backseat of the carry job, even though, success hasn't been there. But, I think Aaron Judge for sure being the AL MVP, can't disagree with it. Setting records in 2020, I feel like with the MLB, a lot of the records that are older feel like a little bit untouchable, but it's nice to see that in the modern day that they can still be broken.
Yeah, and then the NL MVP was
another guy that I drafted in fantasy baseball. I traded him at midseason though, because maybe I was predicting not so much of a drop off, but I felt like my team, needed more good players than just him. Even though I definitely regret that trade at the time, but Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals.
He did go on to slump in September, but like he was crazy. Didn't you also have Nolan Arenado too?
Yeah, I had both of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I kind of stacked them up, and a little bit of bias drafting Nolan, but he's an incredible player as well. I think he was
third place.
He was third place. So he was also in there.
Yeah, he was pretty
and
incredible.
Then Machado was the second.
Yeah, this is one where it's like I've heard people debating who should win this award, but it's Goldschmidt, and it's been Goldschmidt for months, and everyone knows it. But people have tried to throw other names in there.
Yeah, I just feel like Goldschmidt kind of like, even though you said he did have a bit of a slump in September, that just goes to show that he kind of had this award in the bag for a while now.
Yeah.
And, the numbers go to prove it.
And after finishing top 3 in MVP voting like a few times throughout his career, he finally gets it. So, good to see that finally.
Yeah, so now on to the rookies.
Yep.
An interesting rookie class, but
a very interesting.
First, we'll talk about the National League. I'm not too familiar with Michael Harris, the winner there. Good outfielder for the Atlanta Braves.
It came up early on in the season. He's a free agent in our league, and I had my eye on him. Didn't add him. Never ended up adding him.
Yeah.
But he
ever get picked up?
No, he got picked up.
Yeah.
Because he was incredible. He produced at a rate of around what Rodriguez was doing in the AL, where he was just incredible. He made I don't know. He really just controlled the center field for them, and he made like Ozzie Albies going down negligible.
Yeah, they were able to stay afloat.
He made Acuna being a little slower, something that people don't even think about because he was so good. And the biggest thing for him is that he signed a massive contract already, and good on the Braves for getting this guy locked up because he's so good. But
Spencer Strider also was a good candidate.
But Spencer Strider, he's my winner of the award because he's another guy that was called up mid-season, and he was asked to take a starting pitcher role on this Braves team, and by I wouldn't say the best Braves pitcher because that is such an incredible pitching staff, but he was, I'd say, the second best Braves pitcher by the end of the year.
I'd say Strider definitely was a big contributor to them winning the division, if I'm correct.
I'm pretty sure they beat
over the Mets.
Yeah.
And then you talk about contract extensions. The AL Rookie of the Year as well, Julio Rodriguez, who I didn't even know was a rookie until looking at these awards because I don't know, I just felt like he was too good to be a rookie, I guess. He's locked up long term as well, and he kind of catapulted the Seattle Mariners to being there was flashes in the past couple seasons of they could be good, but it was just Seattle, so you didn't really expect much from them. But now I feel like there's a lot more confidence in Seattle, and we can even talk about the acquisition of Teoscar Hernandez from the Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously, we're Blue Jays fans here. A little sad about that, just because he was a nice piece in our lineup.
Exciting piece.
But him going to Seattle, I feel like now there's an expectation of success in Seattle, and will they fall flat on their face next year? Maybe. It's definitely possible, but I think they've definitely got the tools, and behind a guy like Julio Rodriguez, they're a team to look out for.
No, the vibe in Seattle is definitely different. It feels more like they could be perennial playoff appearance teams instead of the 21-year drought or whatever it became.
And although they didn't win a game in the series against the Astros, they actually did give the Astros a decent.
Yeah, the games were close.
A decent. I think they set a record or was close to the record. I think 19 innings it was, or 18 innings.
Oh,
It was I think it was 0-0, and it went 18 innings.
Well, there was the game, the Cleveland Guardians game versus the Rays. That one went 15 innings at 0-0 ball before a walk-off. Home run. So that was, I think, at the time that game was played, it went down as the longest tied game at 0-0.
Yeah, so in Game 3, Houston beat Seattle 1-0 in an 18-inning game that went 6 hours and 22 minutes. So that was in Seattle, I'm pretty sure, if it's Game 3. So imagine, finally cracking the playoffs, and then you just watch an 18-inning game, your team doesn't score a run, and you're out of the playoffs. So definitely a rough one.
Yeah, that would definitely suck.
We mentioned the Mets a little bit. Their manager, Buck Showalter, he was the manager of the year in the NL.
That's who I thought deserved it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like people thought maybe he lost a bit of momentum at the end of the season when the Braves kind of took over for the Mets there. But yeah, I feel like the Mets, with all the talent that they had on their roster in the past few years, like they needed a season like this to kind of like shut some people up, I guess, and 101 wins, I feel like, in his first season with the club, definitely deserving of the award.
Yeah, for me, in Manager of the Year, it's basically just an award of who won more games than was expected. And I think this Mets team won more games than the Braves and
Dodgers, I think, was the other.
So, yeah, he's my winner.
He's an interesting group of candidates.
But more so, like, that kind of philosophy applies to the AL Manager of the Year, Terry Francona, who was my pick all year. Second youngest team in baseball ends up winning the AL Central, which is just incredible. And he's shown that he's a great manager, and he's been a great manager for years, and so I think there's no one more deserving of this award.
Yeah, it says third time in 10 seasons for Terry Francona. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It says youngest roster here, so second youngest, youngest.
Yeah.
Either or, a young roster that I definitely didn't think Cleveland was going to be back winning, a division this year for whatever reason.
I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team.
They were good, a few years ago. They had a few runs in the playoffs, but then...
And they traded a lot of those players.
They lost, specifically, Francisco Lindor.
Lindor, Clevenger, Bauer. Like, they lost so many big pieces other than J-Ram.
And then they had Shane Bieber, who had a decent season as well. The pitching staff kind of just stepped up, and I feel like, Francona was probably a big part of that.
And then they had Stephen Kwan come in, who was
another rookie candidate
in the Rookie of the Year race. He is going to be like the next Ichiro of just contact hitter, hits singles. I mean, he will never be that good, obviously. But, man, he was a fun player to watch in the second half of the year. He went on like a 16-plus game hitting streak, so he's going to be exciting to watch. I'd keep an eye out on him.
So, that puts an end to this year's MLB season, but there's going to be some off-season news coming here and there, and we've already had some trades.
It's a huge free agent class, too.
It's a huge free agent class.
We've already had one guy sign. Diaz re-signs with the Mets.
That's big.
But some other guys to mention, and Kershaw re-signed with the Dodgers. That was the two big ones so far. But a few other names. I'm just going to rifle off some names. We got guys like Aaron Judge, obviously, Jacob deGrom, Verlander, Correa, Carlos Rodon, Trey Turner, and Justin Turner on the Dodgers. Xander Bogaerts, Bellinger, Jose Abreu, Dansby Swanson, Colby Bassett, Michael Wacha, and Nimmo.
A weird name that not necessarily stands out on that list to me, but one that I'm interested about is Cody Bellinger, because I feel like he definitely... I mean, well, there's other Dodgers on the list there, so if he were to re-sign and they were to leave, he could maybe retake, kind of his role on that team. But I feel like with them bringing in all these superstar guys, he kind of lost his role on the Dodgers, and potentially to see him go to another team, they could get maybe even a bargain on him, and he could return to some of his form.
Yeah, I definitely think that Bellinger needs to leave LA, and I definitely think that he will return to the form that, like, I'm not saying MVP form, but I'm saying that he will be a very, like, talented player again, and not just like a bottom of the rotation hitter.
Which he was. Yeah, kind of just got stuck in that 7, 8, 9 kind of.
Yeah, because that Dodgers team was just too good. But he's one of him, Jose Abreu, both former MVPs that are free agents.
And then Judge as well.
Yeah, Judge and Verlander also.
Former MVP.
So it's a pretty stacked class. I think the Jays could make a run at a lot of these guys. The number one name I've seen the Jays go for is the Nimmo from the Mets. They want to sign him to patrol center so we can move Springer to not play center field.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those free agent classes where this is not an MLB example, but I think back to when Kawhi went to LA in the NBA. I feel like that free agent class definitely changed the landscape a bit. You had guys like Jimmy Butler going to Miami, so just these superstars could end up with teams of their own, and some of these stacked teams already could get even more stacked.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I think, yeah, I don't know. I think Judge resigns with the Yankees, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the richest contract in sports.
Yeah.
In sports.
I
To
wouldn't put it
day.
after this season. That's
I
gonna
think he deserves it. But
the Yankees have that kind of money just because of the Yankees, and I think if Judge is going into negotiations, maybe he could take a team friendly deal, but if he's trying to win the negotiation, he can get a lot of money off the table.
yeah, he's 30 plus now. Like he's
Yeah.
trying to set himself up. I
Exactly.
really believe he'll get the richest per year contract in sports history.
And even though I don't know, he's what in his 5th or 6th season now, it's not like it's not for like a 30-year-old. It's not like I've seen him playing for the Yankees for the last 10 years. But I don't know why I can't really. I have a hard time picturing Judge on any team other than the Yankees. He just kind of like is the Yankees to me in a way. Just I have no idea where he's from in the States, but when I look at his face, I just think Bronx Bomber,
Yeah, from the most casual perspective, Aaron Judge is the Yankees.
Yeah.
So we'll see where he ends up. It'll be a weird sight. But yeah.
So going from a season that just ended, league that's in the middle of their season now, just passing through week 10, so there's 18 regular season weeks in the NFL. Week 10, it was a good one.
It was a pretty good one, yeah.
With
one very, very notable game.
Yeah, I guess we can just start off with off the rip with that one. I'm a Bills fan, so I guess we're gonna have to talk about it eventually. The Minnesota Vikings coming into Buffalo and beating the Bills 33-30. So we have an interesting perspective on this game because we watched the first half of this game pretty intently. It was on the TV, and then I had an intramural basketball game that we had to go to, so we missed the second half. And as a Bills fan, as much as I'm sure the highlights are crazy in the second half, I've been very reluctant to go and watch them just because I know the result. But a really crazy game, and I not that I thought we had it wrapped up. It was still like a 1 or 2 possession game by the time we left, but I felt like I don't know. I thought the Bills were gonna win this one, especially the way they were playing in the first half, which they've been underwhelming in the second half.
Yeah, well, they only scored 6 points in the second half in this game, and they haven't had a second half touchdown in like a few weeks now.
I think since Kansas City game.
That's wow.
So
yeah, it's just been
time.
It's been strange to think I don't know, because everyone I still have the perception of the Bills like they are this offensive juggernaut, but it's like I don't know, they haven't been able to close out games lately.
I just think I still think our offense is good and it runs well. I just think at times maybe there's a little bit too much on the shoulders of Diggs, and Davis did step up in this game, but I feel like Diggs does take a lot of the workload, and potentially bringing in a guy, even though the trade deadline passed, OBJ's still out there and he's been cleared to play, I'm pretty sure now, so that should be some news that we're getting within the next week or so about where Beckham Jr. is going to play. Obviously, I'd like him to play in Buffalo. Who knows if he goes there? But yeah, I don't know. We don't have, even though Josh Allen is a great running quarterback, when you look at our running backs of Singletary, James Cook, and Nyheim Hines, we're not necessarily played to we're not really built to play to run the clock out, chew out a 2-possession lead, and then just play boring football in the second half. I feel like our offense is just kind of still goes out there to score on the drive. You know what I mean? I feel like if we start the ball, or if we start the drive from our own 25, we're not thinking to drive 60 yards, chew up 10 minutes of clock. I feel like we're still trying to go out there with our same game plan, and it doesn't really work in the second half. So I feel like this is something that I need to see the Bills adjust, and I definitely want to see more emphasis on the run game. I feel like with Singletary, Cook, and Hines, those are 3 guys that are capable of taking carries, so I feel like we need to utilize that part of our game more, and then having Josh Allen not throwing as many passes will allow him to be more precise when he is making those plays.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about now that we're a few weeks out from the trade deadline, how much is not acquiring a Christian McCaffrey do you think is going to affect this Bills team going forward, and especially in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think bringing in Christian McCaffrey would have been big. The package that the Niners gave up wasn't too substantial.
It was something the Bills could have done.
We could have done it for sure. I don't know. I obviously having Christian McCaffrey would be good. Yeah, I mean we got Naeem Hines at the trade deadline. Your poor man's Christian McCaffrey. But I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, I would want to have McCaffrey on my roster.
Yeah, I don't know. I think moving for a player like that would have put the Bills back in the contention that I think they were to start the season.
Mm-hmm. I still put them there.
I mean, I still have them in
two straight losses, obviously.
Topmost teams.
2 straight losses, 1 in the division. Also, we're 0-2 in the division, which I don't like. But I still think these losses are just like character building losses. The one to the Jets and the one to Miami early in the season even, and then this one in Minnesota, a close one. I feel like it's moments like these where we need to, when we're in the playoffs, we can kind of channel what it felt like to be in this moment of, losing on your home field, fumbling a touchdown in the goal line. These are the type of things that, like, obviously can suck in the moment, but they build character and they build winning teams. Ultimately, I feel like in sports, it's so rare we see teams, be successful and never have to face adversity in their, history, not their history, but their contending window.
How many teams have had an undefeated season and won the Super Bowl?
I think just the Dolphins.
Yeah, like the 70s Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, teams have to lose to really be able to learn how to win.
Mm-hmm. So, a few numbers from the game. Dalvin Cook had 146 total yards, a touchdown, and it was a big one. So, he's, when we talk about running games, I'd love to have Dalvin Cook as well. He's a great talent. Stephon Diggs, 12 receptions for 128 yards.
No touchdown, but crazy
still
yards.
Doing his thing. And then Justin Jefferson, 10 receptions, 193 yards and a touchdown.
And catch
obviously that big catch at the end. You could say the DB caught it for him. Watching back at that highlight, my first instinct was like, the fact that it was 4th down, I felt like, obviously in the heat of the moment it's different, and you can think, how much this place is going to erupt if we were to pick that ball or whatever, but I'm not sure the exact defensive back that was on him during that play, but I felt like that was a play that didn't even need to happen. I felt like that ball could have been knocked out of midair. I felt like he kind of went to the ground with Jefferson, and Jefferson was the one, who came down with it.
And he gets out-muscled by one hand.
Yeah, both quarterbacks had 2 picks.
2 picks and a touchdown for each.
Mm-hmm. 50 passing attempts for Kirk Cousins in this game.
Yeah, 30 for 50.
And 84 rushing yards for Josh Allen. He's been very good on the ground lately, and that's because he isn't our run game, but like
might as well be.
Yeah, he has drawn up plays and stuff like that for him, and a lot of the plays, Minnesota played good on defense. Plays didn't develop. He had to, take it for his own. But yeah, I think if we are, I wouldn't call this future Super Bowl matchup just because these are 2 teams that haven't won it before. So for the both of them to be in the Super Bowl would be crazy. We'll see, and I think it was a statement win for the Minnesota Vikings. I think now, especially with the Packers' loss on Thursday Night Football 2 days ago, I think the Vikings are going to run away with their division, especially, and now it becomes, can they get the number 1 seed in their conference? Yeah. Because I guess going into my next game, the Philadelphia Eagles are no longer undefeated.
Yeah, losing to the Washington Commanders and Heineke. Heineke doesn't even throw a touchdown in the win.
Yeah, he just game managed the hell out of that game. Yeah, so he just game managed the hell out of this game, in my opinion, because when you look at it, Washington had 40 minutes and 24 seconds time of possession in this game. So that's 2/3 of the football game on the road.
That's the first time I've ever heard that stat, and I am blown away.
Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, 40 carries combined.
Yeah, B-Rob with 86 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, they just, worked it on the ground, and when they did need to throw it, it was probably to Terry McLaurin. It was
pretty much only Terry McLaurin.
8 receptions, 128 yards, plus 100 yards more than the next highest on their team. I think Curtis Samuel had 28. So, yeah. And then the Eagles' run game.
Oh, the Eagles' offense didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Brown getting 1 catch for 7 yards.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith was the only guy that like actually kind of did something, but it was 6 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown. Like
the 39 yards is a strange one because he threw the lateral that got got the touchdown, so it was like minus X amount of yards,
15 or something.
Yeah. I think I saw something. It was like a bad beat. Someone had like a parlay, and that was the last leg, and everything was gonna hit, and then on that last play,
it was like fantasy points over like 20 or whatever. It wasn't 20. He didn't get close to 20, but yeah, him losing those yards lost someone the bet. I know what you're talking about. I saw that same thing. Just like. And then a lot of people lost money this weekend betting on the Eagles. Imagine.
Yeah, the one guy bet, what was it, $300,000 to make 60 grand?
Yeah.
And didn't get it. But yeah, I think Dallas Goedert getting injured is going to be pretty big on the Eagles just because, they have Devonta Smith, they have A.J. Brown, and they had Goddard, and, 3 weapons is definitely enough. But now once one of them gets taken down, who's going to be the next man up? Is some backup tight end gonna fill in his role, or are you gonna target Kez Watkins a little more? Is Miles Sanders,
I think Miles
Kenneth Gainwell gonna be involved more in the passing game? So I don't know what it is. I feel like once an undefeated team does get that first loss, it's easier to kind of like look at their holes. But Philadelphia, this could be their only loss all season. They do have a relatively easy schedule.
Yeah, this is definitely not where I had their loss pegged.
Mm-hmm. There was another clip I saw, and it was A.J. Brown saying that he was happy that, not necessarily that they lost, but happy that the 17-0 17-0? Yeah, they play 17.
Yeah.
The 17-0 narrative was gone just because it was somewhat of a distraction around the team. And then I don't know if it was the same reporter, but then another reporter said to Jason Kelsey, they said, did you hear A.J. Brown said that he was happy you guys lost? They kind of like reworded it so that it sounded like Brown was happy, and Kelsey was saying like, oh, I kind of wish we would have won and still been undefeated in a perfect world. But yeah, the Commanders with a big divisional win. They're last in the division at 5-5.
Yeah, it's a crazy stacked division right now, and
both East divisions in NFC East and the AFC East all 500 or above. And speaking, and then specifically with the AFC East, all 4 teams are in the playoffs.
Yeah, in the playoffs. And I guess I could talk about the Dolphins, because there's someone where it's like, I'm just like rooting for them super hard now, and especially rooting for Tua, because since he went down with his injury and he missed a week, in his first 4 games back, he's thrown 0 interceptions and 10 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 1 touchdown, 0 interception, and he's won every single week. He's thrown 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the past 3 weeks, thrown for over 300 yards in 2 of his last 4 weeks. Like, he's been that guy. He's been him, and Tyreek Hill and Waddle are definitely like reaping the benefits of it, but it's just this Dolphins team looks really good, and they traded for Chubb. I really like how they look going into the playoffs right now.
Mm-hmm. I do like the Dolphins as well. I still pick the Bills over them.
Yeah, I mean, it's
head to head.
I still also have the Bills over them. I still think the Bills are gonna take the division.
They need to, I think, because I think the difference between a playoff game in January in Miami versus a playoff game January in Buffalo is big if, they do have to go head-to-head.
Yeah, and I like Buffalo in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
But also something else I want to point out is that I just wrote down some stats from the Dolphins versus Detroit Lions game. That was a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because this Detroit Lions team might be, again, the best bad team ever. Like, it feels like they have so many weapons. It feels like they're kind of putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're 1-6, and they're dead in the water. And it's like, something will click with this Lions team. And they're just going to randomly be really good.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to see, because, gosh,
Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year?
So bad every year. It's so funny, but it makes me so sad.
Mm-hmm. It does make you think, is Goff that guy? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know either. I really don't.
Going on to another NFC game, one that I thought was notable, the Green Bay Packers beating the Dallas Cowboys. Was that the Sunday night game?
Yes, that was
pretty positive it was. Or no, it was the midday game. The
yeah,
Sunday
because
night
that
game
got
was
bumped.
which, it ended up being a great game. Christian Watson with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Is he their new number 1 receiver? I wrote a big question mark beside that because, a point you made when we were just talking the other day was that pretty much every receiver on this Packers core has been the number 1 at some point, So I think Christian Watson, and then he had 2 touchdowns again on Thursday night, and he looks poised. He looks like he's gained the trust of Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know if it's going to be going to any playoff success after 4-7, but they did get a little bit of momentum with this win over Dallas. CeeDee Lamb had a crazy game, 11 receptions, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Dak, has his favorites, and
he has his guy back.
So they didn't have Zeke, so I think that can maybe be a little bit of a part of it. Tony Pollard isn't going to be like a 25 carry, a game kind of guy. I think they're good as a duo, and I think like for playoff success, they need both of those guys back. Aaron Jones also on the other side of the ball, 24 carries, 138 yards and a touchdown.
A needed week.
Yeah,
and much needed for him.
Yeah, so I feel like the run game is their identity, but they did find success through the air. Aaron Rodgers, only 20 pass attempts in the entire game. Considering it went to overtime, it's kind of surprising.
Feels low, but
he was 14 for 20, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So
can't ask for much more.
That
and if Aaron
could
Jones
quite
is
honestly
rolling,
be Aaron Rodgers' best game of the season so far, at least.
Yeah, it really does feel like it with how just disappointing he's been.
Yeah, and I do you think he gets traded next offseason? I think it's a.
I think he gets traded or retired. I don't see a world where he plays for Green Bay next year.
Just because I think. Obviously, they lose Davante Adams, and people think, it's a big piece, but it's still Aaron Rodgers, and they brought in some rookies like Christian Watson, Dobbs, guys to
Alan
replace him.
Lazard, ready to go.
Exactly, but I think just not having that Davante Adams guy, defenses used to have to plan specifically against Davante Adams. Now they can kind of
they're not planning specifically
have a game plan for
any
Packers,
of these wide receivers.
Oh no, I have to stop AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones 50 times. I don't know. I definitely think he's gonna be fed up by the season's end.
He looks fed up in every single Green Bay game. It's just Aaron Rodgers looks pissed.
And with the way that Russell Wilson, not that he's been abysmal, he's kind of picking up a little bit, but the Broncos have been disappointing. I think this could be a case where you look at Aaron Rodgers and maybe you want to get out while you can if you're Green Bay, get that value that you could still fetch for, someone who's still expected to be a top 10 quarterback in the league.
I'd say he should be still.
And then, so just running through some headlines after week 10, after a very quiet, nobody talked about, they have America's Game of the Week, they have Game of the Week and stuff like that. This is I didn't see a single highlight from this Game of the Week. The Giants beat the Texans. The Giants are 7-2.
Yeah, and the
Giants have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, which is which we'll get into our awards later, but that is a huge reason for my pick for Coach of the Year. But it's yep, I've heard 0 things about the Saquon versus Dameon Pierce matchup.
Yeah. Are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back? They had a big win in Germany, a nice little 9:30 a.m. game. The Germans going crazy, storming the field after.
That was exciting
as
hell.
It was, I just think the NFL International, we obviously know what London brings, but I think trying these new cities like Munich definitely stepped it up.
Yeah,
and
they were awesome.
Tom Brady stepped it up as well, and the Buccaneers now back to 500, first in the division. I don't think they'll give that spot title up for the rest of the season. I think the Buccaneers are going to be back in the playoffs. Any questions that were had about them, I feel like are slowly starting to fade away. Rashad White, I don't know if it's Rashad. He had 100 rushing yards, so a little bit of a breakout game for him. So
I missed that.
I think Fournette,
he's been disappointing this year. He's been really disappointing.
So he could take a little bit of a step back, and White, I think adds a lot to that offense. Fields in week 10 goes nuts again. He had 147 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. I hope the Bears can build a good team, because I feel like he now has the confidence to put up these type of numbers and be successful in the NFL.
It seems like he's allowed to play his game now.
Exactly, and maybe a bit of that is to do with kind of the Bears having no real expectations. Potentially, if they become contenders, he'll have to alter his game a bit, but I feel like Fields is an exciting quarterback, and this past few weeks, I think he's been the leading rusher in the NFL since week 5. I could be wrong in saying that, but I know he's surprised.
Top 5 in rushing since week 5.
And yeah, so it's just a new era, Russian QB. I think I feel like mid-season it's hard to have the debate, but I feel like by season's end, unfortunately Trey Lance injured his ankle, can't be a part of the discussion, but I feel like between Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, and Justin Fields, it's going to be a better discussion for best QB from that draft class. And I feel like that's something that I always love doing is holding people with their draft classes and kind of like comparing them throughout their careers.
It's just a fun thing that's as close as you can do with a comparison. It's just comparing with their peers.
Mike Tomlin, he beats the Saints, and he's
31
now
of 32
beaten
teams.
Every single team except the Steelers. Hadn't beaten the Saints, so he does that there. Sadly, the Steelers, unless they have a crazy second half, this is going to be Tomlin's first losing season ever as the Steelers head coach.
Which is another crazy stats. What a historic coach.
Speaking of historic coaches, Jeff Saturday
gets his first dub.
Wins his debut.
You love to see it.
The Raiders suck.
They're so
Which
bad.
Is very...
I didn't see that at all.
Neither did I.
I thought they could be a 10-win team. Right now, it doesn't even look like they'll get 5.
It's funny how at the start of the season, the AFC West was looked at as that division that could have, every team being good. But it's the NFC East
and the AFC
East that have those.
So
Cooper Kupp. I talked about Goddard earlier, but both Cooper Kupp and Goddard to the IR.
Yeah.
Kupp does
most
this
likely
end
shut down
the Rams season?
I say yeah. I think the Rams season's over.
Yeah.
Unless
now it becomes a race between the Geno Smith-led Seahawks and the Garoppolo-led 49ers.
Which the 49ers are maybe the most overrated team in the league. It's hard to say that just because they went to the NFC Championship game last year. But it's just like they have so many weapons and they just don't... I don't know what it is, but it feels like they just don't use them right. They don't use any of their weapons right.
Still a bit of trial and error.
It's the most frustrating
I'm excited
team to watch.
See if this offense does figure it out, and bringing back a guy like Elijah Mitchell. I think this was his first game off of returning.
Yeah.
He had 84 yards or something like that. I think he can be the main, running back. Because he's explosive. I had him on my fantasy team last year. I feel like a lot of people overlook him. He is crazy good. And then you can have Christian McCaffrey play as, your number 1 receiver, to be honest.
Yeah, over Debo.
I don't know. But, yeah, I feel like a run-heavy team. They have 3 guys that they can hand off the ball to. With, Debo,
CMC,
and Mitchell. I feel like they'll start to gain more confidence. Big win over the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Excited to see, what the second half brings for the 49ers, because, if you told them at the start of the season that, hey, middle of the season, Rams are going to be done and it's going to be between you and Seattle for the division, they'd be happy, and, and especially if you told them after week 2 when Trey Lance went down, things were looking down for them, but they've been able to pick it up. I did a little bit of mid-season awards just because we have passed the halfway mark.
I also have my mid-season awards.
So for MVP, the 3 candidates that I listed: Patrick Mahomes, number 1, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Just a solid guy. Chiefs probably going to win the first seed in the AFC just because, I don't know, they could win out from here on. That pains me to say as a Buffalo fan because I wanted that 1 seed.
Yeah.
Another guy I have, Joe Burrow. Did he have 4 interceptions in the first week of the season? He had maybe 3, but he had a lot of interceptions in the first week. He's only has 6 on the season, which is surprising. I would have thought he had more after that. That start. 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I feel like when you start to look at MVP, they're 5-4 right now, 1 game back of the division lead. They're going to be without Jamar for a little bit. They've had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball as well. Their offensive line has gotten banged up. So I feel like, I don't know, Burrow could, I feel like he could be a dark horse MVP candidate.
Yeah,
and that's why
the guy
I listed
to lead
him.
that team.
I think if they can, finish with 11, 12 wins. 11 wins. I don't say. If they get 12, they only have 1 loss left on the season. And then my third candidate, I have Geno Smith.
Yeah.
With 17 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions, leading the 6-4 Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I think Geno Smith is what a story this year, and to be like an MVP candidate now, that's crazy.
The sad thing is though, is we both have him listed. You know, they're 6-4 right now. I think even if the Seahawks went to finish the season, maybe if they finished the season 13-4, but like I don't know. I just feel like he's gonna have a tough time getting actual MVP votes.
Yeah, he's not.
Like I feel like he's gonna be on a lot of ballots as like a third, fourth candidate type of guy. But in terms of his actual chances to win, I don't think I would place that bet. But it would be amazing to see, and also it'd be interesting to see just for the sole purpose of some social media account digging up some sports bettor who put money on Geno Smith. Do you think
anyone
Geno Smith MVP bets were placed at the start of the season?
0. I think there's 0 MVP Geno bets. But maybe there should have been.
Any other candidates that you were thinking of?
Just Jalen Hurts was the only other guy that we didn't mention that deserves mention just because he no longer undefeated, but still he's the engine of that team, and he's been incredible.
Yeah. For Offensive Player of the Year, I have Tyreek Hill. He's leading the league in receiving yards, 1,148, 4 receiving touchdowns.
Which is crazy. It's like only 4 receiving touchdowns
for
a guy that looks like he's going to break the receiving yards record.
He's still been good. Another guy I have, running back, Nick Chubb. He's been really good.
He's been the top running back.
904 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, which leads the NFL. He's been really, really solid, efficient, good as always. I think he's just been one of the best offensive players of the season on a team that,
Yeah, I mean, having Jacoby Brissett as their starting QB, he kind of needed to, and he did.
And then a guy I didn't list for MVP, but I did list for Offensive Player of the Year, is Josh Allen, just because of his dual threat game. 24 total touchdowns on the season, 4 rushing, 20 passing. And then he's on pace for around 5,000 passing yards and around 1,000 rushing yards.
Which is still incredible.
Yeah.
It's something that we don't see.
I think a lot of people, because we have Diggs, but even outside of Stephon Diggs, not like one player I could actually say like with full confidence is like, would succeed on any other team type of thing. I think Gabe Davis is really good. But he plays well for Buffalo. I don't know what he would look like with another team. I don't know what Dawson Knox would look like with another team. I don't know what Devin Singletary would look like with another team. So I do think Josh Allen, although he gets a lot of credit, I think he does deserve it, and I think he hopefully after this loss to Minnesota, big second half of the season, and could take that MVP home even. Yeah,
there's definitely a chance. Just one honorable mention for me on the Opoy, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
He's been a little colder, but like he's been picking it a bit up lately, but he might cold for a bit in those midweeks. But after his insane start, like he's gonna get paid. And whether or not he wins an award, I think this season for him is just gonna be a Lamar showcase to see who's gonna give him the most money. But, I think he's an honorable mention for that award.
Defensive Player of the Year. I had 2 players listed, and they're both on the same team. So I have Nick Bosa on the 49ers. He's second in the league in sacks with 9.5. I feel like you can look at sack totals for like... I feel like sack totals and Defensive Player of the Year, there's got to be some, ratio there when you look at, like, league sack leaders. He's not in the lead. I think Judon on the Patriots is in the lead.
Yeah.
Who's also potentially a candidate. And then my other guy was Hufanga, who's a young guy. He's in his second season. He's got 4 interceptions, 43 tackles, 7 passes defended. I feel like every time I've watched a 49ers game, he's made a big play on defense. And I hear the commentators talking about him a lot. And he's a guy that's, picking up steam and, adding another piece to an already crazy 49ers defense.
Yeah, that defense just gets better and better every single year. My mention for Depoy would be Micah Parsons, just because he's incredible.
Yeah, Micah Parsons for sure.
Yeah, I think he was my number 1, and then Bosa was my number 2.
Rookie of the Year. I think Offensive Rookie of the Year, you could argue Dameon Pierce, but I just feel like because he's in Houston, I don't know.
He's my pick.
Yeah,
He's been too electric.
I haven't heard people talking about him a lot. I have Kenneth Walker III as my Offensive Rookie of the Year. 787 total yards, 7 touchdowns, and I think those numbers are going to keep adding on. I think he's going to be a huge part of this Seahawks offense, who's going into a playoff race all of a sudden.
So crazy.
So I feel like the media likes him a little bit more, and I feel like with Geno Smith not getting as much MVP votes, I feel like this Seattle team, if they are able to make the playoffs this season, deserves an award winner.
Yeah, he'll get a lot of credit, I think.
Just because nobody was really picking Seattle to, lose Russell Wilson and be better this season. So yeah, I think it's between Pierce and Walker in terms of the running backs. The receivers started hot and then kind of cooled off a bit. Olave definitely has the potential to, with Mike Thomas now out for the season. But I wish they'd bring Jameis back, kind of. Andy Dalton not doing so much for him.
So mid.
But yeah, and then I feel like Defensive Rookie of the Year, there's 2 guys that I have. The first being
Tariq Woolen, and then the other being Sauce Gardner. Mm-hmm. This has been a 2-man race, and it's been very exciting. Yeah. This has been the headlines that I've been following most of the year. Is Woolen versus Gardner.
Yeah, Woolen too. Gardner is gonna get the attention. He was that top 10 pick. His name is Sauce. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the Jets are. I feel like the Jets and the Seahawks are similar.
Very similar. Jets are
in terms of
more expected.
Yeah. I was saying in the offseason that the Jets have a potential to be like 9-8, 8-9, and people thought I was crazy, but we'll see.
Here we are.
But yeah, Gardner with only 2 interceptions, but the ball doesn't get thrown his way all that much. 13 passes defended, which is really good. And then Woolen with 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
One of those being a pick 6, and 9 passes defended. He has been really good. I saw someone on TikTok breaking down his play and just saying how like he truly has the potential to be like a top 3 corner in the league. Just the way he plays, his traits, his skills. Like I think he has a crazy wingspan. He's like I think he's really tall too. I could be wrong, but I think Tariq Woolen and Sauce Gardner, 2 really good corners to come from this class. I think it's between the 2 of them.
Yeah, it's got to be between the 2 of them.
I think, yeah. I mean, the stats are similar.
The stats say it's Woolen's award, but I think it's Sauce's. It's Sauce's award to lose just because of popularity. It's Tariq. It's Tariq Woolen's. Yeah, it's Woolen's award to win with his play.
Yeah.
It's Sauce's award to lose with his like mainstream credibility.
Mm-hmm. And so I believe that Russell Wilson. I know Bobby Wagner as well, maybe Richard Sherman, but I know they drafted like 3 of their like core players that were in that Super Bowl winning team. They drafted them all in the same year, and I think you can kind of look at it this year, with Kenneth Walker, Tariq Woolen, the Seattle rookie class has stepped up and really catapulted them to actually being a contending team. A few years ahead of schedule.
Yeah, do you think they're building do you think these are the building blocks of a championship team that we're watching get put together right now?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I feel like the league is a better place when Seattle is good.
I agree fully. Yeah. I think Seattle's
a great market.
Great
for
market.
Football. They have the, 12th man.
So, yeah, it's one of the most hyped teams in the league, and I fully agree. The NFL is better when Seattle's good.
And then, running off the last award, that I had written down. I feel like comeback player of the year is
Saquon, I guess. He's been incredible.
Mm-hmm. But for coach of the year, I have a couple guys. Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins.
Yeah, I really like his odds right now.
Robert Saleh of the Jets. Brian Dable of the Giants. Yeah. I feel like
he's my winner.
He's probably going to be the winner. And then I have Pete Carroll, just because I feel like a lot of people really talk about Pete Carroll too much.
I think people were hating on Pete Carroll before the season, and once Russ left, and it's like, no, he's 6-4.
In the Buccaneers and Seahawks game, the Buccaneers got a first down and had and the Seattle Seahawks had 2 timeouts left, and there was enough time for them to kneel the ball, right? And usually what happens is they kneel the ball, and the team, out of respect or whatnot, doesn't take their timeouts, and they finish the game because they know they're going to lose anyways. But Pete Carroll called his 2 damn timeouts and made Tom Brady kneel that ball 3 times, and I don't know what that was, but, that's just kind of like who Pete Carroll is, plays to the last play, and he's been, able to motivate this team and make Geno Smith look like an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, how good was Russ really?
yeah.
Or was it just the system?
Yeah.
Because if Geno Smith can step in and be on Russ's level immediately, like, crazy thoughts.
And some people thought Drew Lock was going to be the starter this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a really good season in the NFL, and another good week, carrying on with that. Moving on now to some leagues that are a bit more fresh, not at the halfway point yet. Starting with the NHL. So we just wrote some teams that have been surprising us and some teams that have been disappointing us so far.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only thing you can really look at right now.
And I don't know about you, but looking at the NHL standings, they are weird as hell.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Like,
I mean, a lot of teams are where I thought they should be.
No, but just in terms of, like, records, too. Like, the
so many teams are 500.
By points, the fourth place team in the NHL, the Los Angeles Kings, are 11-8-1.
Yeah. It's been so
like,
even. Like, it's been a really...
Like...
yeah.
And it did take a while for games to go to overtime at the start of the season.
Yep.
But like I'm looking at a lot of overtime losses and stuff like that. Like Seattle's like 9-5-3, the Leafs 9-5-4.
Yeah, and it seems like every single team is like
8-6-4.
It seems like every team's hovering around 500 right now. It's
Penguins
weird.
7-7-3. It is just weird. But for teams that are good, I think immediately we have to talk about the New Jersey Devils. 14-3, 11 wins in a row as of now. They play Ottawa at 1:00 today, so could be 12. Who knows? Maybe Ottawa snaps that. But yeah, there was someone saying how Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are maybe not this era's, but like kind of similar to Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews.
I see it.
And I don't know, and immediately you think like, oh, what the heck, Kane and Toews, but like Hughes and Hischier were number 1 picks, in their respective drafts.
Both of them.
I'm really happy to see the jump that Hischier's taking this year.
I'm so happy to see the jump that both, Jack Hughes is less of a jump because he was incredible last season when he did play.
Talents.
But yeah, so happy to see
Hischier,
performing.
is one of the best two-way forwards in the league. If we're being honest, he's the captain of that team. And then Jack Hughes is just that spark plug offensive guy who's gonna go and do a little bit of everything.
He's also a great two-way guy.
He made the play that kind of won the game for the Devils over the Leafs. He was able to get the shot on net that led to the Sharangovich rebound.
Yep.
But yeah, Jack Hughes has been incredible. In 14-3 with the Mackenzie Blackwood injury.
Yeah, Vanacek.
He's been solid.
He stepped up huge for them.
Do you think they make the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah.
I see the Devils as a playoff team now. I see the playoffs I see the Devils as a playoff team now, especially because of my most disappointing team so far, Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I think they can definitely take that spot in the Metro, and I feel like, I don't know, if New Jersey were to make the playoffs this year, say the top 3 teams in the Metro in whatever order is New Jersey, Rangers, and Carolina, would you look at those as the 3 teams in the Metro now and, start to fade away, Penguins, Capitals,
I'm fading
like
Capitals hard now.
Yeah.
I think Capitals are done.
Yeah. I'm not a huge Caps fan. I do like the Capitals, but in terms of like their team, their on ice product, I'm not too scared.
I think they're
about the Washington
nearing their
Capitals.
expiration date. It feels like
another not necessarily surprisingly good team, but surprising how good they've been. 15-2 Boston Bruins.
Yeah,
they
were my top surprise team.
They were expected to
yeah
pick it up in the second half of the season when they had all their guys back, but not only do they pretty much have all their guys back now. Marchand is back. Yeah. McAvoy is back. Swayman starting today, so he was injured for a bit.
He's back. Omar.
But they've been so good, and they just look like the most complete team maybe right now.
I'd say they are. Yeah.
I don't know. And yeah, 15-2, only 2 losses on the whole season. 17 games in is crazy.
Unfair.
Sets themselves up really well to probably win the Atlantic Division.
Yep. And they're a team I don't even think I had in it. Or no, I did. I had them in it, but I didn't see them here.
Mm-hmm. Another team I had for surprisingly good under Rick Bowness, new coach, the 10-4-1 Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, that's
Hellebuck kind of back in his, Vezina winning form.
He looks great.
He's been very good for them. And Rick Bowness, so he was the coach of the Dallas Stars that went to the finals in the bubble. When I heard he was going to be the coach of the Jets, I really liked that just because, I don't know why, I feel like when you look at that Stars team, Jamie Benn, Blake Wheeler, Tyler Seguin, Mark Scheifele, it's kind of like
they marry each other very nicely
in terms of good. You have some pieces in your top six, and then kind of like who are they bottom six, and then serviceable guys on defense, and then Hellebuck's an upgrade from Hudobin, but Hudobin was really good in that run as well. But yeah, Bonus has been able to get the most out of his guys, like early Jack Adams, I would say.
Yeah, easily. For this Jets team, I didn't see finishing anywhere like where they are.
Mm-hmm. And they've been able to now cement themselves, maybe not cement themselves, but put themselves in a really good position for this Central Division. They're in the lead of their division, I'm pretty sure. No, Dallas is first. Dallas is having a good season as well, but and then Colorado right behind them. But then, like you said, a lot of 500 teams. Nashville's 500, St. Louis is 500, Minnesota's below 500. So I feel like Winnipeg is not 8-1-1 in their last 10. So
yeah,
they're
Jets, yeah,
and a team that is has a 70% point percentage, 700% point percentage, and they're only a plus 11 difference team. So they're winning close games. Hellebuck, obviously a big part of that. But yeah, I like to see it. And then Seattle Kraken as well.
Seattle Kraken was another one where Seattle Kraken and the Kings in that Pacific Division both holding on to playoff spots over the Oilers, over the Flames. It's a huge surprise for me. I definitely cannot, I don't see it by
being
February.
Sustained.
Yeah, this is not sustainable at all.
And Martin Jones being their number one, they got Grubauer back, but Martin Jones has been good this season. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of even though a top pick or a playoff run, those would be really good things. But I feel like a middling season isn't necessarily the worst thing for Seattle. I feel like, in their second year, they had their first year where they were, garbage. And then they got Shane Wright. And I feel like they have a good enough system where they can slowly start to build up those pieces, but I even like their current roster and current pieces. I think if Shane Wright and Matty Beniers in 3 years' time are where we're looking at, Hughes and Heischer, I feel like the Seattle team has the chance to do something.
Yeah.
Supporting cast, Burakovsky, or not Burakovsky,
Bjorkstrand.
Is it Burakovsky? Burakovsky did go there.
Yeah.
It was Lehkonen who stayed in Colorado.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys like that, Jordan Eberle, I'm a big fan of just because of his Oilers days and his Islanders days. And then in terms of a player that has been surprising, I feel like we can't go this episode without talking about Erik Karlsson, who, when I checked today, he's third in the league in points, but in 19 games, he has 11 goals and 17 assists for 28 points. So not only is he a point per game, but he is has the same points per game as Nikita Kucherov. He has a higher points per game than
Matthews and Marner.
Yeah, Bratt even, who's having a good season as well. Just notable guys. I think Erik Karlsson. If I'm Mike Greer, I definitely look into trading him just because he has 4 years left on his contract.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to retain a lot of that, but.
Where the Sharks are right now, they can retain it.
They can retain it because I don't see the Sharks team for the remainder of this contract even being in the playoffs. He has 28 points and in 19 games. He's doing as much as he can, and they're 6-10-3.
Yeah, it's not leading to wins, so ship him off.
I think now is the best chance you're gonna have at getting a sizable return, just because if you were to if Erik Karlsson would have been traded in the offseason, it could have even just been a cap dump, pick trade, what I mean?
That's what I was thinking.
So now the chance that they have to get actual value, I really want to see Erik Karlsson trade talks heat up.
I just don't know where he could go.
Yeah.
I have no clue. I have no clue who takes a chance on Erik Karlsson. And I don't even have anyone in mind. It's like, with the contract situation, with contending situation, maybe the Rangers.
Maybe the Rangers?
Maybe the Rangers.
Yeah. They got a guy like Adam Fox, though.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
And he, like, with an 8-year, 11.5 mil per, I'm sure there's some type of no-trade clause on the contract, so I feel like we can't just throw at any hypothetical team, because I doubt Erik Karlsson's going to want to go play in Winnipeg. You know what's a team that... No, they wouldn't be able to.
What team?
Well, because they don't have the cap of Vegas. I feel like they're always the, like, Weasley team that somehow figures out a way to, like, take that guy who's, like, the desirable player. You know, they got Pietrangelo in free agency a few years ago. Obviously won the Eichel sweepstakes. I don't see him getting traded within the division, especially just because I feel like in that division, and there's obviously some of it in the Atlantic too, but being a California team, like I feel like you wouldn't make a trade with the
California
with the Ducks. You wouldn't make a trade with the Kings, and then even Vegas they have a rivalry with. Seattle's even a little bit too close. Edmonton maybe. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm very interested to see how those trade talks could potentially pick up and be a point of discussion the rest of the season.
Yeah. I think other trade talks, and this is more of a going into the disappointment side. Just right now, Patty Kane has done nothing.
Yeah.
And he needs to get moved.
Yeah.
He has to get moved. And I mean, I was saying that all offseason. I think like they should have traded him already.
Yeah.
It's just who do you think would be best for him right now? I think for me, New York Islanders.
The Islanders.
The Islanders acquiring Patty Kane, pair him with some of their pieces they have right now. It's just Barzal. It's just that's the spark.
Parise.
Elite.
Parise.
Parise.
Low-key been good. I'm gonna find his exact stats.
I just think that Patty Kane on the Islanders will be the spark that Islanders team needs.
I don't disagree. I feel like it could definitely be a cool fit. It's just like, I don't know. He's just such a 18 games. This is Zach Parise stats, by the way. 18 games, 5 goals, 8 points, plus 8.
That's not bad.
That's
not bad at all. 13 points in 18 games.
What?
Is that?
No. 8 points.
Oh, 8 points.
But 5 goals.
Yeah, 5 goals in 18 games.
5 goals in 18 games.
3 assists.
I mean, if you can be a 20 goal scorer though for the New York Islanders, it's not a bad guy.
Islanders have the weirdest stats this season.
Yeah.
You got Parise with 5 goals, 3 assists, and then you got
Barzal 0 goals on the season,
but he's over a point per game.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that like situationally for the Islanders, if they're gonna make noise, they need a Patty Kane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree. What about him going to New Jersey?
New Jersey would also fit really well. That would be so nice. That would
be very nice. For bad teams, like teams that have been disappointing me
so far. My number 1, Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
I just feel
like that was like a roll of the dice team.
Yeah, it was a very 50-50. I was just really hoping that they would hit the over of being good.
Mm-hmm. I think they needed some of the young guys like Cylinder to step up a bit, Kent Johnson, and they just haven't done that, and their offense has, been very lackluster.
Yep, and their defense has been just as horrible as it usually is.
My disappointing team, though, the first one I have down is the Oilers, just because, and they were I think they were 7-3 at a point this season, and now they're 9-8. A presumable upgrade in goaltending, going from Koskinen and Smith to Skinner and Campbell, but goaltending remains the issue. I think Tyson Barrie needs to go. Bouchard, a little bit of a slow start to the season. I was able to snag him off waivers in our fantasy hockey league, so I was happy about that.
What's that?
So hoping for a rebound, and not like they're too far out, and Oilers are known to have potentially they're just a weird team that's either hot or cold, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the end of the season that could formulate a playoff record, and then we just need to hope that we get hot at the right time, and who knows what we can do, but when this team is cold, it's not as much fun to watch. And when we're only 1 game above 500 with the top 2 point scorers in the league, there's something wrong there.
There's a lot of questions to ask about the roster and just about the performances.
Yeah, I would trade Tyson Barrie for pretty much anything.
Yeah, we're on the Tyson Barrie hate train now.
But like,
we'll see how many.
I would just like
continues.
if we could replace Tyson Barrie with just a guy who's gonna be like lights out in his own end. I would want that. But it's definitely tough to get on the market. I think Bouchard and Nurse can step up offensively if you're thinking that you're losing too much, losing Barrie on that top power play. But,
oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a Leafs fan, I understand the hatred and I understand.
I would much rather Bouchard on the top power play taking clap bombs.
I think everyone would.
Another disappointing team. I guess I'll go straight into the Flames. I'm happy that they're disappointing. They started the season really well. 2-6-2 in their last 10 now.
Yeah, specifically Huberdeau's been.
Yeah.
He's just been
he missed a stretch of games, but he has been very, not so great. And I feel like the whole of Matthew Tkachuk is,
it's too big.
A really tough one to fill. Just because, they do have Kadri, who's a bit of that, skill and grit mixture. But, like, you have a 100-point player who's as physical and, and really good defensively as well, Matthew Tkachuk, I just think is a big hole to fill. And then, losing Gaudreau as well is a big hole, The Flames offense last year worked as a unit, and it was, like, a well-oiled machine. It was, like, players who had been playing together for a while. They kind of like knew where to be at the right time.
At least 5 years together.
Knew what to do, stuff like that, and it worked. But this team is kind of just like they threw a team together, and it's not working as well as people thought it was gonna be.
Yeah,
Mackenzie Weegar's been very disappointing.
He's also another disappointment. I didn't write him down, but I could have.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I'm happy. I hope they continue to suck, because I'm not a big fan of the Calgary Flames, and it would be amazing for, so much hype in the offseason to, turn into nothing. But
yeah, I would also quite like that.
And then I have the Minnesota Wild as well.
Yeah, they're just kind of been mid.
Just because, I don't know. I was they were good, one of the best record-wise in the regular season last year, best teams, and I felt like their young guys were going to come in, Boldy, Kalen Addison, and, take this team to another level.
And they just haven't yet.
And
I mean, the same thing with the Blues.
Fleury's been a little disappointing. Interesting enough about the Wild, they're 2-5-1 at home, but 5-3-1 on the road. So, I don't know.
Interesting.
We'll see if that does anything. But I just think pretty much what I was expecting of the Minnesota Wild has kind of caught up to them, and it's just like, I don't know how much I trust their offense outside of a few guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about. Where it's just like you have Kirill Kaprizov,
Zuccarello,
but then it's like you got Jordan Greenway or like
Eriksson Ek,
who I love, but it's just like, I don't know. It's a very misfits type of forward group. Mm-hmm. And
St. Louis has been a little disappointing as well.
Yeah, they're
on a 5-game win streak, though.
That's nice. And their young guys are starting to pick it up. Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. Mm-hmm. They were both really slow to start this season. So it's just good to see them performing again.
With, I think Nashville, St. Louis, and Minnesota, the three of them are all 500 or below. I think that's a good opportunity for all of those teams to maybe kind of like take a step back and be like, yes, we've had a very bad start of the season. Yes, it's disappointing, but there's still like,
something we can salvage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're not dead in the water quite yet.
Although, some teams might have to decide that they are and trade their pieces.
Yeah. Would you say you saw this coming from Ottawa, or you're disappointed?
Disappointed.
Ottawa?
That was their number one on my disappointment list, because it's just Cam Talbot came back way sooner than I thought he was going to, and he's not been great since he's come back. He could have taken more time. I don't know. It's just like I feel like there would have been more headlines out of Ottawa. It's just like Claude Giroux's been good. He's been scoring. DeBrincat, I haven't noticed anything. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard any headlines.
2-goal game the other night. I know only because I missed putting him in my lineup by like 2 minutes, and he had a 2-goal game because, of course.
Unfortunate. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Ottawa, and it's just like, I don't know. And they're last in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Which is
going to be a tough hole to climb out of.
Yeah. Buffalo and Stutzla
and Tkachuk have been having good seasons.
That's true. Brady Tkachuk has been incredible. That's been the one thing I have been hearing about, is that him and his brother Matthew have both been just lighting the league up to start this year.
I chose the right guys to draft on Ottawa, as I have Stützle and Tkachuk both on my team, both over a point per game. 3 point per game players on that team. So Tkachuk 21 points in 16 games, Stützle 17 points in 16 games, and then Claude Giroux 17 points in 16 games. So, and then 5 goals for 5 goals for DeBrincat, 8 for Pinto, but a lot of those were early in the season. 9 for Jake Sanderson.
That's
9 assists. 9 assists.
9 assists. Okay.
Not 9 goals. That would be crazy.
But still 9. Yeah.
But 9 assists plus 5. So in 20 minutes a game. So I don't know. Jake Sanderson.
Yeah, I don't know. They have the players.
Top 10 pick from a few years ago.
Yeah, they have the players that's why it's so like disappointing for me. It's because they have the players to like be a middling team where they could fight for a wild card spot, and they're just not doing it.
No. More you want to add on the NHL?
I mean, just the only thing that like would just be like surprise goal scorers or guys that are like shocking in their like stats so far are the guys like Tage Thompson and Bo Horvat, where it's like they've just been really good this year. I didn't see it coming, but I guess some people, I guess we should have been.
Yeah, I was at the Eichel revenge game, and obviously Eichel had a hat trick. It was a cool headline.
There's been a lot of hat tricks this year.
Tage Thompson, he's a great goal scorer. And I'm not sure did we go to, was it you and I that went to the Marlies playoff game? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you and I went to a Marlies playoff game, and Tage Thompson was on the Rochester Americans. And I remember texting my dad after saying that he looked like when he was on the ice, he looked like the best player on the ice. And, it's translating into a good NHL player. So I'm a fan of Tage. And that contract's looking absolutely worth it.
It looks like a steal now.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, that's better for the NHL. Bo Horvat, I think he's another trade candidate.
Especially if they're not able to work that contract situation out.
So.
Now moving on to the NBA. So, again, similar to what we did with the NHL, just talking about disappointments and surprises from the start of the season. Just because only 15 odd games in, it's still very raw.
I got 3 teams from each division for disappointing and surprising. So, I want to talk about who's disappointing me first. This first team is the only one that's like, they're not really disappointing me because they are hovering around 500, but the 76ers, just Harden was so good. Then he went down, and now Embiid's kind of taking his time to get back up to speed. And it's just like...
But he had 59 points.
59 points. But it's just like...
7 blocks or 8 blocks or something? He had near
7
quadruple
blocks.
double. It was
59, like 11.
11, 8, and 7.
7. It was like my career game.
Yeah.
But it's just like, that was a team where it's like, I want them to be in the top of the East all year. And it's just like, where they are right now, it's a little disappointing. But
surprisingly,
that's
though,
the
one
least
game back of the 3 seed. So outside of the
I know
so the Celtics
it was hard to pick
top.
disappointing teams just because it's, again, basketball. Everyone's really tight right now. My only disappointing teams I picked were the ones that were not there. Like my other 2, which are right next to each other in the standings, are the Bulls and the Heat. Just the Bulls are 6 and 10, and I think the Heat are 7 and 9, and it's just like,
I also have the Heat.
Yeah. Bulls for me was the big one because they benched Zach LaVine in the closing minutes, I think last night, and or recently, and he's complaining about that, and DeMar hasn't been, the DeMar we saw last season. It's just like, damn, I really was hoping for a bit more. I mean, having no Lonzo Ball is definitely affecting them.
I agree fully. More disappointing teams. I have the Brooklyn Nets. I just feel like, they did not have Kyrie. They did go through firing their coach and all. But, below 500, I just feel like, I don't know, this Brooklyn Nets team, I was expecting to have them figured out the Simmons situation more than it looks. I felt like coming into the season, they had more of a plan for how things were going to work and how they were going to, use Simmons. And I don't know.
He just did have his first good game.
He did have a good game, but I don't know. I don't know how long Ben Simmons is going to be a Brooklyn Net.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree.
Because I think if they disappoint, whether it's this season or next season, I feel like they're gonna look to probably move him before before KD and Kyrie if they're still trying to contend. If not,
I think
blow it up.
I think they blow it up if they don't win.
Could.
Yeah.
And then another disappointing team I had is the Golden State Warriors.
Golden State Warriors were a big one for me.
This was a point I wanted to make when we were talking about football. And I'll bring it back to the Warriors, but the LA Rams this season, potentially, at least in my watching of the NFL, the most like underwhelming repeat champion, like not repeat champion, like back to back, but like following their Super Bowl winning season. And then when you look at the Warriors, disappointing to start the season as well. I thought they were gonna not be better, but bringing in the young guys, you were expecting them.
The young guys were something
kind of add something to the team,
I specifically
but they really
wrote down Warriors young guys, Kuminga and Wiseman. Wiseman, I think, got
Now
sent back down to the G League. So it's like
0-8 on the road, so 7-1 at home. They're looking, as you'd expect them to look at home, but 8-0 on the road is definitely not good because. If your shooting is cold and the opposing arena isn't showing you any love, it's gonna be tough. And giving up 117 points against per game, that's really unheard of from the Warriors. They gotta tighten it up.
They have the 4th worst defensive rating in the league. The only teams worse than them are the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Pistons.
Yeah,
and then the teams that are a bit better than them, but still in that bottom tier of the league for defensive rating, is Sacramento, Indianapolis, and the Pacers and the Knicks. It's like Warriors just don't fit into that pile at all. It doesn't make sense right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they'll turn it around, but who knows? Like if. Yeah, I don't know. They've had games where they haven't looked great, so we'll see. They're one of the Pistons' 3 wins. I know that for sure because I watched that game. And the thing is too is Steph Curry has been really good too.
Yeah, statistically crazy season so far.
Like Steph Curry, I can conveniently on the Warriors page, but yeah, 32 points per game, 6.6 assists, 6.7. Rebounds and a steal a game. He's shooting 900 from the line. Like he's been really good, and like to know that he's playing this well and the team is still disappointing is maybe not a good sign for the Warriors. And,
it's alarming.
It really makes you question. I guess like who did they played in the first round? They played the MPJ Murray-less Nuggets. I mean, they might have had MPJ, but still, not a crazy Nuggets team. Second round they played the Grizzlies, so kudos to them. That was a big win, and then they played the Mavs,
which
and
was
then the Celtics.
Not too close.
I mean, still a good title, but I don't know. It really makes me question. Not necessarily that last year was a fluke year, but like last year they just looked like a really good team compared to what they look like right now.
It looks like a different team.
No, it does for sure, and yeah, I keep coming back to the young guys because I guess maybe I don't know what it is like. You're used to seeing the Warriors play with like more veteran guys, like other than Jordan Poole, really like no young guys has like been like a relied upon player of their team, but I don't know, I was expecting them to do a lot more. But going into the teams that have been surprising, when you look at the Devils in the NHL, I feel like you gotta look at the Jazz in the NBA.
Who the hell saw that one coming?
So Jazz sitting at 11-6,
second place in the West,
second most wins in the league. Just Boston is leading the league in wins, 13-3. So Celtics are doing very, very good. But yeah. Larry Markkinen, he's probably my most improved player.
Yeah, it's currently mine. Celtics, though, something I'll mention just because they're the only team that has more wins. For offensive ratings, they have 119.4, which is on pace to be the best offensive rating of all time.
Yeah.
They're on pace to be the best offensive team ever. That's how good this Boston Celtics team has been playing so far.
And, that makes me think of when the Boston Celtics played against the Raptors in the bubble. I liked the Celtics roster, but I thought in my head, like, they're good, but they don't have, like, that number one guy that you can give it to, like, in the dying seconds. Like, it's kind of like an ensemble. But now I feel like both Tatum and Brown are both those guys, and they still have a good deep team. The Celtics team,
they look great.
We just talked about how disappointing the Warriors are. When you look at the Celtics, I think, they're going to be a tough team to knock out in the playoffs. That is a tough team to beat in 7 games.
All I want is to see the Bucks versus the Celtics healthy.
That would be a great series.
That would be just a dream matchup.
But yeah, so Lauri Markkanen for the Jazz. He's probably my most improved player so far. Gilgeous-Alexander, I wouldn't say most improved player, but he's been crazy as well. I remember I was looking at like career highs in the offseason randomly. I think it was because I was making notes for the podcast when we were talking about the Donovan Mitchell trade, and I saw that Lauri Markkanen's career high was like 30 something. Like 32, 33, 35, around there. And I was like, he's going to beat that this season. And, already 2 nights ago, or last night, set a new career high, 38. Still nothing crazy. Yeah. I still think he's capable of having, he could have a 50-point game this year, and I wouldn't be surprised. But 38 points to lead them over the Suns. But yeah, Lauri Markkanen's been great.
Crazy.
Malik Beasley had 27 last night, too. He had a lot of threes as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'll do. Another guy for me, where probably won't win most improved player, but definitely should be in the conversation, is Devin Vassell. Mm-hmm. If he was less injured and playing more, then for sure. But he's a guy that I think by the end of the season will average 20 plus points a game. Mm-hmm. He's been incredible so far. My last surprising player in the NBA is Bol. Again, he's
what was Simon's what were Simon's numbers last year? Because I know he's averaging 23. I guess those were probably inflated a bit, but he's also
last year without Dame, he was a very solid 20 and 10 at least. He was super good last year. Mm-hmm. And then big surprising team, Trailblazers in first place in the West.
Yeah,
which surprises me, but it's something I said before where it's I thought this Pacers team was going to be good, and I'm kind of just glad that they're doing what I thought they could be doing. This Trailblazers team.
Mm-hmm. And then another surprising team, Pacers.
Yep, that was number one surprising team for me in the East.
Because they're 8-6. I mean, the thing about talking about surprising teams and stuff like that, it's early season. By the next time we record an episode talking about the NBA, the Pacers could be 8 and 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it could be Pacers are bad again. But they've had Benedict Mathurin, their rookie, has been
incredible,
a great scoring option. I feel like the universe is kind of going against me because last year I'm usually big into the drafts NFL, NBA, NHL. I know the prospects. I'm excited to see them come into the league. But last year's NBA draft was probably some of the one of the most least familiar I've been with a draft in recent years, and I feel like it's outside of the guys Chet, Paolo, Holmgren, Jabari Smith, but these other guys Mathurin, Jalen Duren, they're kind of coming back to bite me by not knowing them, and they're having these great starts to their career. So Pacers, and I just wrote a big question mark beside them because it's kind of just
it still is
it's strange that question. They're kind of putting up
And Halliburton's been leading them to they're one of those teams where it's what's going to fail first, their offense or their defense? Because, again, going back to the defensive ratings, they're the fifth, they're not the fifth worst, they're the sixth worst defense in the league, according to defensive ratings. But in offense, they're the seventh best team. So it's what's going to fail first? Are they going to stop scoring? Or, exactly. Are they going to stop scoring before the bad defense catches up to them? Mm-hmm. And we'll see. That's basically just Tyrese Halliburton and what he can bring.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Halliburton, I'll bring this back to his former team, the Sacramento Kings.
Another
They're
huge surprise.
8-6, 5-game win streak, 8-2 in their last 10. Really, really, really happy about that because
I think,
the Sacramento Kings have never been a good team in our lifetime, in our fandom. Maybe the start of our lifetime was the end of their kind of goodish era at the start of the 2000s. But Sacramento Kings, I'm really happy about that. Losing, I think a really underrated acquisition is Kevin Huerter. Yeah. Because when they traded Tyrese Halliburton in the package for Sabonis, it was kind of De'Aaron Fox was expecting to do too much of the playmaking, and Kevin Huerter's been able to come in and be a guy that can hold the ball. He's a good shooter as well. Terrence Davis has been solid as well. I'm still feel very sad about the Raptors never able to work that out. And
he'd be a great backup point guard right now for the Raptors rather than Malachi Flynn or whoever they throw out
And
there
then
to play
Sabonis
point.
hasn't even been too crazy, but they're
Just
winning
consistent,
games.
yeah.
I'm really happy to see it. It was the coach's name specifically on Sacramento. I'm pretty positive it was the Warriors like coach before Steve Kerr.
Steven Jackson.
Well, is it Mike?
Or Mark
Jackson?
Mark Jackson.
Something like that. Kings coach.
Oh, it's Todd McClellan now.
That's the Sacramento, or that's the LA Kings.
Oh.
I hate Todd McClellan. Mike Brown. Okay, so maybe not, definitely not the Warriors' last coach, but I felt like I've seen some clips of him, and I feel like he's a nice guy to root for, and Sacramento Kings. It's gonna be really tough in the West because even though they are 8-6, the OKC Thunder at 9-7 are 2 games back from them at the 12 seed in the West. So
yeah, it's tight.
And then so I don't know. I hope Sacramento can hold on to it. I would love.
I would love to see them
in the playoffs.
This is the year. I think this is the year they make it.
I would love to see that because Sacramento as good as they can be on some nights, like in the regular season, they're not gonna like wow anyone. But in a 7-game series, I feel like maybe they can prepare for it, and De'Aaron Fox can go stupid.
Yeah, I like the Kings more in a 7-game series than a one-off game.
Mm-hmm. Weirdly, yeah, for a bad team.
And
then especially like with the playoffs coming back to Sacramento, I think they're gonna be like in their own arena. That's gonna be like I want to see that.
I want to see it so bad, but first they got to make it there.
And then team I didn't have for disappointing is the Lakers, just because
Lakers
they're not even disappointing.
Yeah, you expect this?
I think I saw like after the first few games of the season, I saw enough.
Yeah.
They're 4-5 at home though, so they could be a 500 team if they played every game at the Staples Center. 0-5 on the road. I don't know. The Lakers, can't really call them disappointing.
A question I do have for you and the Lakers: are they intentionally worse than they could be now? Like, so this is something I saw online. I was just like, online, and someone said that they put together a roster that was intentionally worse than what they could have been.
Yeah.
Because for the Lakers, it's better to either be in the bottom of the league or be in the top of the league. And being mediocre doesn't mean as much.
True.
So do you think they're intentionally in the bottom of the league? Like I guess the question is just like, are they intentionally tanking? But they don't even have their own pick, so you can't call it tanking.
The Pelicans have the chance to, take that pick if they want.
Add another top guy. But it's just like, do you think that they're intentionally worse than they could be? Or do you think they've intentionally made that roster worse?
I wouldn't say so, just because I think when you have LeBron on your team, your mindset is always, we can win the championship.
That's a good point.
Him and AD especially. AD had a crazy game last night in a winning effort. I'm not sure who they beat. But yeah, I think, I don't know, looks like they're going to be maybe not even fighting for the play-in, and that's just like not a Lakers season that I really want to follow that much, sadly. Move Russ, if possible, even though, I don't know, he hasn't been like...
Some to the Pacers.
I feel like he's very overhated.
Yeah. Still overhated. He's been good in his 6-man role.
Mm-hmm. He's been overhated in most of his career, except for like he did gain the league a little bit.
Washington, I think, was the biggest thing for him being liked.
Mm-hmm. People loved him in Washington. People loved him the season after Katie left.
But triple-double Russ.
He's an easy guy to kind of like pick on and hate just because he doesn't play the cleanest game.
He makes some of the dumbest mistakes I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely a piece that they should look to trade. And we'll see how that storyline could potentially shape out. Sitting at 4-10 right now. They're 2.5 games back of the
plan.
The plan. So
I mean, it's definitely a possibility
not lost
still,
all
but
hope.
It's just, I mean, I think this team goes 2 directions. I think they
LeBron's
trade.
been missing time too, which is not a good sign.
This has been the first sign of LeBron's slowdown, which is a little sad.
Yeah, or it could be, the LeBron fan of me is thinking, he kind of takes the year off a little bit, plays here and there, and then next year go stupid. We'll see. I mean, I think it's going to take a LeBron MVP effort to get this Lakers team in the playoffs, but I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I would not hate seeing that, you know.
I think it'll more so take a Anthony Davis MVP season to get this Lakers team in the playoffs. And
True.
I don't know if he can do that.
I mean, right now he's been playing very well. I'm going to pull up his specific stats because I feel like it's noteworthy how, you know, the numbers that Anthony Davis is putting up. Another guy who's overhated, the Lakers are just generally hated in general. 25.3 points per game, 11.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, he's not really known for much assists, 1.3 steals, 2 blocks for AD. So
great defensive numbers.
80% from the line too. Not enough shooters on this team. It's sad.
Yeah.
And damn, LeBron is shooting bad from 3 this year, like really, really bad. Him and AD are both. Him and AD are both like 24% pretty much.
Oh,
for Kobe, I guess.
For Kobe.
But Kobe would not. He would not want that. Russ is shooting 40% from the field. Lonnie Walker, 16 points per game.
Yeah, Lonnie Walker's definitely been the best piece of this Lakers team. See, that's the question of, like, are they intentionally bad? I only asked that question because they intentionally filled the roster with guys that
Thomas Bryant, 8-5 in his debut.
That's hype.
Last night, and 13 minutes played. So, you know, maybe as he starts to get more minutes, more comfortable with the team. I think Schroeder also made his debut. 16 minutes, 2 points, 2 assists, 4 shot attempts, or 5 shot attempts. So, gonna need to get in the shooting stroke a little bit more. But, yeah, I think Schroeder and Thomas Bryant can both, you know, definitely help this Lakers team. They need people like that. And
I feel like the team's only going to go as far as AD takes them.
And I feel like Schroeder could be a very big X factor because if he's able to come in and be like a secondary playmaker like he was a few years ago in LA, I really don't see a lot of need for Russ on this team. And if there's any trade that you can work up to get, you know, any type of spacing added to your team, you know, if there ever was a Buddy Hield for trade on the table,
and
Turner,
like how do you not pull the trigger immediately?
If that was the trade for Russ, that would have been crazy. I doubt there was the exact trade. There was definitely a lot more pieces involved, but yeah, I think the Lakers are definitely, this is not a championship team.
No.
Sorry if you thought that.
And that will do it for our 5th episode of The Sports Podcast.
Yeah, so this we ended up, you know, talking about all 4 of the leagues a little bit here. There won't be as much MLB, you know, in the heat of the NHL, NBA, NFL. We'll obviously talk about the free agency.
Yeah.
But yeah, so another good week in sports. Thanks for listening.